Over the past few years, there's been a desire to elevate the status of mental health such that it might be have parity with physical health. Do you think that that has been set back over the pandemic, that physical health has been prioritised at the expense of mental health?
I barely think mental health has had a look in, to be honest. I don't think people have thought about it much at all. And yeah, that makes me a bit cross, to be honest.
So
There's a lot of people suffering out there.
And what do you think needs to be done?
Do you know what a lot of the rhetoric around this whole response, and it's a bit late now, it's been going on for 11 months, hasn't it, to change, has been quite aggressive, very assertive. And if you're an anxious person, that makes you more anxious. If you haven't worked for many months, that makes you more anxious and depressed. If you don't think you're going to get back to work anytime soon, that's going to make you more anxious and depressed. So we need to, first of all, start getting people back to work, back with their friends and workmates. And second of all, a lot of this will go away when people can hold hands and hug each other again. We've taken away people's support networks. Not everybody's strong, not everybody's resilient. You see these wonderful journalists writing in newspapers about everybody's just got to suck it up and get on with it. Well, that's great. You know what? If we didn't have any problems, we wouldn't have a mental health service within the NHS, would we? So clearly what's gone on for the last 11 months has exasperated lots of underlying conditions and has also placed people in a situation that they never thought they would be in.
But clearly there's a balance to be struck, isn't there, between protecting people from a potentially fatal disease and allowing people to hug their loved ones when they need that support.
Yeah, well, there is a balance to be struck, but sadly that balance hasn't been struck at all, has it? Because if it had been struck, I wouldn't have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of emails. So we can all talk about balances being struck, and it's your radio shows great credit that you're actually interested. But I've not heard much concern. We've got a very good mental health minister in Nadine Dorries, Minister of State, but this needs to come from the top. And I can't quite recall when the nation's mental health was discussed by Chris Whitty at a Number 10 press conference. He is meant to be the chief medical officer, but perhaps I missed that. But if he did, great. But I haven't heard much of it from him or anybody else really at those press conferences.
Isn't the answer to this more support for mental health services rather than an end to lockdown?
No, the answer for this is for people to get back to their support networks, to get back to their jobs and to the people that they love. Yeah, we are social creatures. We don't mix because we like to mix. We mix because we need to mix. We are isolating people. All this nonsense that it's all about clinical interventions or it's all about better services. It's about actually allowing people to get back to their support networks again. And this has gone on for long enough.
But surely if we have a wave of more tens of thousands of deaths, there are going to be more tens of thousands of bereaved families.
Yeah, well, we're not going to have a wave of more tens of thousands of deaths. And when I read about someone whose brother-in-law was committed suicide, his life mattered as much as everybody else. These lives matter as much as everybody else's lives. And I'm sorry if I sound agitated, because I am agitated. These lives matter as much as anyone else's. We have sage scientists falling over themselves to bid up lockdown, to talk about it lasting into the summer. They have no idea what that does to people holding on by their fingernails, gripping on for grim life. And actually somebody needs to show some interest in these. Yeah, somebody needs to actually take some interest in this.
I think there is a fear, though, that taking, it's such a binary approach that the answer to all of this is unlocking and allowing people to get back to work and be with their families. That is going to be dangerous. We've spoken to so many scientists on the programme who, are cautious individuals, but they have made the case based on data that we could be heading for a fourth lockdown and so many more deaths if we don't do this carefully.
Well, we've heard far too much from sage scientists bidding each other up. We have not heard enough from people who actually are worried about the mental health of the nation, their mental well-being, what's going on in people's heads. But if anybody thinks we're just going to bounce back from this, we're going, hooray, it's all over, fantastic, that's it, great. The legacy from this is in people's homes, in their heads, in their workplaces, is going to go on for a very, very long time. And I get really quite irritated that I actually have to defend that position. So it's just been completely demonstrated, not by you personally, but by the line of questioning, that there is no such thing as parity of esteem. Parity of esteem is simply a jumble of words at the moment, just a jumble of words put together to make something sound nice.